The Spanish Announce Table.
It is episode 421 of the Spanish Announce Table. It's so much fun to talk about in pro wrestling this week. First and foremost, I think we need to say what up to @FuckYoMama 2 times on Instagram. Jeffrey Sills, Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, was beer sponsor of the week. We mentioned that last week. Gave us some more money, which you can do too. You can donate to us. We have a Cash App at Spanish Announce Table, or you can just go to PayPal and use our email, tableshow@gmail.com, which you can also just find a PayPal donate link right at SpanishAnnounceTable.net. Love it, right? You can help support this show that you love. We know you love it. And just like Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, who I heard, because it's Valentine's Day coming up, always finds that perfect gift that is like kind of sexy, but still about love. And it's just perfect, you know what I mean? Just makes her heart melt. That's the kind of guy Awesome Bill from Dawsonville is. He's the beer sponsor of the week. I picked up a Boulevard Adventure Pack. I got all kinds of beer because of Awesome
I've been
Bill
trying to cheers you here on our YouTube page. Look, yeah.
Oh, look. I think
see?
Good. Magic of television. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. But I'm excited, Tom, to talk about how great Awesome Bill from Dawsonville is throughout the show, of course. And this is how you would be rewarded if you're our beer sponsor of the week, is talk about how great you are. That you smell really well, which I've heard he smells really well, of course, too.
Mm-hmm. Impeccable manners when eating.
Impeccable manners. Yeah.
Yeah. When eating in public, everyone loves to watch him eat. It's like, this is how you do it.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, they like to stand by and just watch. I heard it kind of bothers them a little bit at times, but
servers, he is their favorite customer. Anytime he goes to a restaurant, the servers want to be at his table because of the impeccable manners he has.
Yeah, I've heard he's a big tip guy in many ways. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying.
Well, we'll get into that a little bit later. Maybe.
Pro wrestling, Tom. We had a great episode of AEW Dynamite, which is what we love to talk about. We will go through a whole lot of that on this here episode of the Spanish Announce Table, the final episode of the Spanish Announce Table before the Chiefs win their 3rd Super Bowl in franchise history on Sunday, defeating the Dirty Birds of Philadelphia. Fingers crossed, knock on fake wood, whatever you want to do there. I've got a candle. Jeffrey Sills in the chat says, I am a big tip guy. I winked for anybody listening to the podcast. But you could watch us live. You could see what we're doing if you were to follow us on YouTube at Spanish Announce Table Podcast. We're also on TikTok. You can catch some clips there at Spanish Announce Table. But Tom, man, where do you want to start? Is there anything personal that Tom needs to address to the Spanish Announce Table Nation, or are we just going to talk some wrestling?
Let's just talk some wrestling. I'm too nervous about the football game on Sunday. I don't even want to get into it because then it'll become a football podcast. We don't need to do that. So let's talk about AEW Dynamite. And we've got some Tweet the Tables throughout this recap of Dynamite, so that'll be fun to get into. So let's kick it off with how the show kicked off, and that is with our heavyweight champion, AEW's World Heavyweight Champion, MJF, in a rare appearance in ring for AEW, taking on Takeshita.
Nailed it. Right?
Yes. See that? Practice. And these two went at it. I tell you what, this was not it was called a championship fight night or something, but this was a title, whatever. Like if you beat them, then you get the title share.
Yeah. It was a non-title match. Every match featured a champion. There was like 2 non-titles, but 2 title matches. Right. Yep, they call it a world title eliminator, but it is what we've said, which has always been the case in pro wrestling lore. If you beat a champion in a non-title match, you then earn a title shot, which is exactly what's on the line here with a world title eliminator match. So
but why would you ever agree?
They just gave it a name.
Why would you ever? I know, but why would you ever, as a champion, agree to fight someone if you're a champion?
Because I mean, it's not up to you in every case, right? Some champions, we've seen this thing here, but
yeah, it's a pro wrestling trope, and so they kicked it off.
This guy's asking about the rules, nerd.
Yeah. I sometimes ask about the rules.
Jeffrey still says he's proud of you. You did nail it with the Takeshita. Good on you. I picture Tom sitting at home, Takeshita, right? Just over and over again.
Because I think Jeffrey Stills wrote it out for me and phonetically, and so I was doing the Takeshita. Yeah, I was practicing. And man, I tell you what, these two tore the house down. MJF, he doesn't wrestle that often, but when he does, he likes to just, bitch smack you in the face and say, oh yeah, I'm still a really good wrestler. And he proved it in this match. Obviously, we know what Takeshita can bring. He's been doing it each and every week, it feels like, for the last 7 years, it feels like. And they went back and forth. MJF gets the victory, but Tim, what did you think about the match before the victory happened?
A key takeaway I took is what you already said here. MJF doesn't wrestle a lot, and we think of him as the promo guy because he is that, and we'll get to that later. But he delivers in these big game matches, right? Like, he rarely gives you anything that you wouldn't say was damn good. So I liked the match itself too. Like, this was a nice slobber knocker, if you will, back to the good old days of JR there. I thought they delivered really well here, and MJF just, I think that's a main takeaway for me is because he is amazing on the promos, and we'll discuss that, we kind of forget that he definitely is above average in the ring as well at saying the worst, right? So I like this a lot.
Yeah, and I like that he was still credible enough to get the victory, but he obviously had to do some dastardly tactics and cut some corners to get the advantage, right? So he did the kick to the dick. He did a couple other things. And so, right, like, bad wrestlers do that. You know what I mean?
He did the Kansas City cunt punt.
And bad wrestlers have to do that. You know what I mean? You think of some of the wrestlers who really couldn't go, and they would have to take those shortcuts. With him, he does it, but then he also does a backflip off the top rope and lands on his feet, and then clotheslines Takeshita and, gets the advantage that way as well. So I thought it was really good. I also thought it was interesting that, for the most part, he won clean. And so I don't know really what that does for Takeshita, because I know he won last week against Brian Cage, but if you look at his record, which AEW is about those records, I know we got the Dark and Elevation, but like on Dynamite, and Rampage, but it's like, it's a loss to Eddie Kingston. It's a loss to Jon Moxley. It's a loss to Claudio. It's a loss to Danielson. And it's a loss to MJF. It's like, well, then go for the TNT championship, because you ain't built for this.
That's it. And I think therein lies the issue is Jeffrey Sills in the chat here says, this match was a banger. I'm glad you learned his name, Tom, because he's going to be doing this for years, talking about Takeshita. And he'll be doing it for years, but I don't know if we're going to see it on AEW Dynamite. And that's not necessarily his fault. I think there's been, we're Americans over here. And by nature, that means, or at least by nurture, that means we don't get it if it's foreign, right? We just kind of don't get it. It's not enough to just be. Some Americans could probably get by with just being athletic, and we go, yeah, we like it, without much storyline, without much substance of being, without with a language barrier. When that starts getting involved, and we just don't, and nobody's giving him any good stories either, right? Like, this is what I'm saying. It's not necessarily his fault. Like he's in these matches here, but he's just losing them, right? So, yes, he's getting good stories, but he's not doing anything that I think that we're going to be like, we need Takeshita, right? Like, he doesn't save the day. He doesn't.
Well, he did. Remember last week?
Defeat the giant. True.
Well,
he saved it there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think, unless they start, like you say, he needs to get out of this main event picture for a while, go on a heater, and do something against people he's going to beat. But I thought we were going to do that with Wardlow, and I thought we were going to do that with Darby, and I thought we were going to, Darby, maybe you can say they accomplished that, but it's just, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to do it here in a way that we're going to like it.
I tell you what, Takeshita versus Samoa Joe for the TNT championship, I wouldn't hate, but again, you got to give them, but you got to give them credible victories on your main television program. You can't just say he's been 10-0 in his last 10 matches, and it's all been Elevation and Dark. Like, that doesn't really count. You know what I mean?
You know what would be nice with Samoa Joe before we move on? Would be Samoa Joe and Miro. Where the fuck is Miro?
I don't know. I think Miro
Where the fuck is he?
I think he's in the wind.
Gone.
I don't think we're going to see. I don't think we're going to see him.
He's going to be. You think we'll see Rusev before we see Miro again?
No, I literally think it's going to be him and CJ Perry figure out a stunt acting,
make some Twitch money.
Yeah, and get into Hollywood doing
making OnlyFans. Apparently, you can make a shit ton of money doing that.
Yeah, so I think that's
check out.
But anyhow,
wait for the Spanish Announce Table only fans coming this fall.
So after MJF wins the match, he then attacks Takeshita because apparently fuck him, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then he takes out his diamond ring, hits him in the head. He's bleeding from the head. And here comes Bryan Danielson out to make the save. And he runs out there, and MJF, gets out of the ring and walks up the ramp. He's like, "Oh, you stink. You're going to get it later this night." And Bryan Danielson looks at him and is like, "You're a prick. I don't like you." And that's how we end the segment. We come back from that segment and we go right into an AEW women's championship.
Yeah,
championship
we have a tweet
match.
the table about that. Actually, it's from @BrianJ Bay. He says, "What? A women's match in hour 1? Hashtag tweet the table." And that's a reminder to all of you also. Use hashtag tweet the table. Go on Twitter. Use hashtag tweet the table. You can say stuff like Brian J. Bay just did. And we'll read it right here. So yeah, a women's match. Not directly before the main event. Tom.
You know what's sad? You know what's sad is
Whiplash.
Well, you know what's really sad? I legitimately did a fist pump when Jamie Hayter came out. I was like, "Fuck yeah. Yeah." Like, I shouldn't be rooting for the entire division. That's not the purpose of the women's division. Is like, they're getting opportunities. Like, they should always get opportunities. So it was interesting that it got put in hour 1. I like it. Tony Khan must have had his Excel spreadsheet.
Or you watched the show.
Maybe you watch the show. I'm going to bet his Excel spreadsheet was out of order. And that's what happened here. And
the formatting went wonky.
Yeah, production crew was like, "You know what? Fuck it. Let's just do it." It says it here. So
yeah. You drag and drop to the wrong spot, but fuck it.
Yeah, exactly. So it was Jamie Hayter, champion, taking on the Bunny. And again, this was an eliminator match, so not for the championship. And Bunny's been good. You recall some of her early matches. Even they mentioned she won the very first singles match for women in AEW. So that's something that she can put a feather in her cap.
I like the Bunny.
Yeah, and she's had that street fight with Anna Jay and Tay Conti, or Tay Mello, whatever we're calling her. And so, like, she can bring it. But this one, and I don't know. I'm speculating. I'm not a doctor. Neither are you that's, watching this or listening.
Doctor,
it looked like, though, but it looked like she got hurt because this got pretty quick, which stinks because, again, it was hour 1, right? Like, this is your opportunity to be different. And it's like, well, shit, got hurt. And that might have happened before the main event, but still sucks that happened here. Jamie Hayter gets the victory. What'd you think, though, overall, of the presentation, placement, all of that stuff?
I like it. I like at least everything, how it's going in the greater scheme of things, which is the story of, like, this AEW Originals versus, the New Girls. And this is kind of on the outskirts of that storyline because it's involving Jamie Hayter, which is tied to all that. So you get to see those players. And I just, the match, again, like you said, clearly something happened here. So you can't necessarily weigh too much against it, I don't think. So still like the Bunny. And Jamie Hayter, obviously, crowd is still, I was a little worried when they gave Jamie Hayter the title. I was like, uh-oh, now it's kind of, is this going to be a Wardlow? Or is this going to be like a Darby maybe, where people kind of take to her? And I think it's venturing more towards Darby than Wardlow, I feel like.
I agree with that. I think the thing that works in her favor, unlike Wardlow, is no one is presented in the same way that Jamie Hayter is. So with Wardlow, as we've mentioned before, Wardlow isn't as big as people who are big guys like Powerhouse Hobbs or Samoa Joe or Satnam Singh. So when he does I'm the big bad Wardlow, you're like, well, you're fucking not, right? But with Jamie Hayter, she can say, like, look at these fucking muscles. I'm throwing everyone around. And you look around and you go, like, no one else is really doing that. So maybe you are who you are, right?
Yeah. Well, and she's still tied to Britt Baker and that crew. And that helps, I think. Whereas Wardlow suddenly was, all right, now he's just War Dog out on his own. It was kind of like, okay.
I got something for you. So after the match, Jamie Hayter wins. After the match, Renee Paquette is backstage. She's interviewing Tony Storm and Saraya.
Yeah.
And she says that Jamie is a loser and all this stuff. And then she calls the librarian in, which was weird. Like, why were you standing there? I would have like walked to grab her, but whatever, splitting hairs, saving time. So that's fine. And they throw her down, and then they do the NWO. I want you to pay attention to that. The NWO style spray paint, but it's an L for loser, right? She does it on the front. She does it on the back. Loser. That got me to thinking. So I saw that last week. I think it was. They did the spray paint. Then they do the spray paint. No.
She said as well. Saraya says, or maybe, I think it was Saraya, not Tony. And she said on her way out, like after they spray paint, do the L, she said, we're not here to just whatever. She's like, we're here to take over. Gave me strong NWO vibes. Yeah, she said the words take over.
Which got my little brain here working.
It's little.
I'm calling it right now.
Okay. All right. Okay. Here we go. Timestamp. Put this on TikTok.
Britt Baker is the Hulk Hogan. They're going to do Saraya, Tony Storm, Ruby Soho, and a mystery partner.
Britt Baker.
Well, no, the mystery partner. And then on the other side, it's going to be Jamie Hayter,
she's going to pull a Kurt Angle.
Willow Nightingale. Well, I think it's going to be 4-on-3, just like how that match was. And then.
Well, so how do we get Britt Baker out of thinking that she should be on that other side then?
Oh, she could just fake an injury, right? Yeah. Have her do a match on Rampage. Oh, my ankle. And then have her on crutches and have Jamie Hayter wrestle on TV.
Yeah, which she's done before. I'm the role model again.
Yeah, right? And Britt Baker's right there like, hey.
She could even be out there the whole time, like helping them along. She's the role model. Then she just stands up.
Well, no. Because what I would do is you have Jamie Hayter, you have Saraya, you have Ruby Soho. Let's just say those are the three. Yep. And then it's supposed to be a 4-on-4 match. And then on the other side, you get Ty Mello, Jamie Hayter, Willow Nightingale, and then let's just throw in Nyla Rose, right? Those are 4. Yep. Or Hikaru Shida. There you go. Hikaru Shida makes her, because she's been gone, right? So she'll be the baby face that saves the day. It's 4-on-3 now, right? So they'll do the match. Jamie Hayter will hit a big move on Tony Storm, right? Boom, hits the finisher. And then all of a sudden you hear, the doctor will see you now. And she's rolling out, like you said, we're on crutches, and then throws it to the side, walks down, and Jamie Hayter's like, fuck yeah. And she goes, whop, hits her right in the fucking face.
Gives her the KCCP.
Yeah, gives her the KCCP. And then Britt Baker is the Hulk Hogan. I'm thinking that's what happens.
Britt Baker is the Hulk Hogan. I think we have an episode title. Britt Baker is the Hulk Hogan. I love that idea. And I mean, they clearly, like, they don't spray paint and say we're here to take over by accident. Those are two choices that went together. So either they're trying to make you think there's strong NWO vibes here, or there just is. And man, I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
Now, here's just a splitting hairs comment that I want your feedback on. How do you feel about when Saraya keeps calling all these women baby girl? Baby girl, I tell you, you're not meant for this. Do you like that? I do. I like it because it's like, fuck out of here. Like, it's such a demeaning term.
It's really like if I kept calling everybody little boy, you know what I mean? Like,
hey, little boy.
That.
Yeah. Like, fuck you. I'm not. Yeah, I like it. Anyhow, that was just splitting hair comment that I caught on.
If somebody was going around being like, hey, little fella, like everywhere you went, you'd be like, bitch, I'm not a little fella.
Right. I pay bills. I fucking have a house mortgage. Fuck you.
You fucking see these traps, man?
Yeah. So Jamie Hayter gets a victory.
I'm working on my calves, you asshole.
We get the backstage segment with Tony Storm and Saraya. Then we get a commercial break. We come back, and Lexi's trying to interview MJF, who says that Takesha is no match for him. And then he goes into this fucking story time with MJF. And he tells a story of when his girlfriend was giving him a blowjob. He was driving. He was going fast. Wrecks. Did the girl die?
No. All right. Okay. So let me set the stage here. So he says, hey, Brian, you treat me as though I'm some scumbag. These fans treat me as though I'm some scumbag. And he's like, well, let me tell you a little story here, right? And he starts telling the story. And I think where he sucks you in is he's like, he talks about when they're, going back to the high school days, he sets that stage again. And then he talks about the girl and he was like, he has all the details, right? He's like blonde hair, curls, like smile. He's like, she was perfect. He's like, so we're going off in the car. And that's when he starts kind of getting into the heel thing where he's like, I'm driving. She gets to, and he does the like blowjob movement. I'm just like, oh, Jesus, man, this guy is terrible, right? Like he's a horrible human being. And then but that's not even like, that's not what distracts him. He's like, after that's done, then he's just like, I'm going to floor it. Right. And that's what crashes him. And then he's like, he does this, like, I wake up, like, I'm, there's blood all over me. She's gone through the windshield, but I like put my finger under her nose and see that thankfully she's still breathing. Right. Like, he's like, and I hear faint police sirens in the distance. And he's like, you know what type of guy I am? He's like, I'm the type of guy that drug her lifeless body into the driver's seat so that when the cops showed up, I wasn't the one driving. And that's just the most like, because he lured you in with this, like, he's done this origin story thing before, right? Where it gave you this, like, from that, because I thought that's where we were leading. I thought girl was going to die and it was going to, like, turn his heart black or something, right? Because, life did this to me or whatever. But no, it was just, but he's like, but I'm the snake in the grass. If it's you or me, it's fucking you. And that's where he's like, he's like, you think you're going to expose me? He's like, I'm going to expose you for not having what it fucking takes to do the things I do, which I thought was just, again, oh, it's so despicable, right? And it was not what you were expecting, the way he was kind of leading the story. And I just think it goes to talk about how he does it better than anybody else. I know I get a feeling that you have a different take on this promo, but I think what's undeniable is just his ability to do that, right? Like, he's got the details that make you think one way, and then he goes over here, and you're just like, and it's still, even for jaded, like, cynical assholes like us that are 40 years old, right? That we want to cheer every heel, right? We like that dastardliness, that we still go like, you sick fuck, right? Like, we got Awesome Bill from Dawsonville hitting us up talking, as it's happening live, of how great this thing was. And he's in the chat now, probably even talking. He said that promo was such great character building, and that's what I agree. But MJF does that all the time, and that's where I feel like sometimes it can kind of go unnoticed, right? Because I said it, I think last night, he's the Mahomes of wrestling right now, where he does stuff so great so often that you forget what you're witnessing and how great he's at what he's doing.
Yeah, and he also does the things that will make him go viral, even if the segment doesn't hit. So one of the things is he called the girl Liv. Let's just say her name is Liv, which if you paid attention to social media, Liv Morgan and him have taken many of pictures together. So it was kind of alluding to that, right? Like, I'm going to cause a little controversy. Even if this promo might suck, someone's going to talk about it online because I said Liv, right?
And who's married to Bo Dallas in real life, if anybody's unaware, and doesn't. So that makes that extra layer of like, why is he fucking, And why does he keep taking pictures with her? And now he's doing this, right? So like, ruffles some feathers, as they say. And his delivery is impeccable. Like you said, he gives the detail. He's going down this. You're like, okay, he's probably going to drop her off in the rain after she gives him a blowjob. And it's like, no, it went this way. A wreck happened. And then he threw her in the driver's seat so he didn't have to take the heat. For me, though, that doesn't prove anything. Like, I know. That's like saying, you know how strong I am? I bench 200. It's like, yeah, bro, that just means you bench 200. Like with this, it just says you just did something shitty. Like, yeah, that doesn't. But I think that's what's great is it. Like I said, it also, I mean, it worked a good response at you. Like you're like, fuck you. That does not say anything good about yourself. That just says you're a slimy piece of shit. And he's like, but that's what he said. I am a scumbag, and I'm proud of it. Is how he ended that. Like,
well, and I get that, and like yes, he is a scumbag, and I did leave that, like saying that. Yeah. To me, though, it didn't prove that like he's gonna do anything more intense than Bryan Danielson.
Yeah, but I think that makes it even better because you're wrong. You're like, not only are you a scumbag, but you're also wrong about what you're fucking saying. Like, you're not like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't connect.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And I agree more with Eddie Kingston on Twitter, which, man, if you need to see someone going through therapy online, go check out Eddie Kingston's Twitter. God bless that guy. He's going through something.
There's no filter on Eddie Kingston.
No. And apparently he's going through something. But right now, when he was watching that, he said a lot of Katie Vick vibes going on with MJF.
Yeah.
And that's what it kind of felt like, where I don't know if we need to revisit that.
I don't know that again. I don't feel like we will get. I don't think we'll look back on this promo the same way we look back on the Katie Vick.
Well, yeah, because I don't think he's gonna fuck a corpse in a funeral home, right? Like, I think that's
what I mean. I think it was that one kind of, to use the TV phrase, jumped the shark.
Right. Yeah.
But this, I do get where people can be like, a little skeeved out, be like, dude, you're crossing the line a little bit here. But I think that's what he wants. And,
it was shocking because, again, he does the blowjob mouth move, gesture and things like that. So like, it's catching you off guard. Like, holy shit, we're doing this at 8:30 at night. Like, okay, motherfucker, right? But again, my biggest beef with that is, to me, if you're gonna say, I will do things that will keep this championship, Bryan Danielson, that you would never do. If you're going to use that story, I would think, I beat the cop's ass and then I ran away. Like, that would be like, fuck, really? You beat someone up with a gun? Like,
no, I think I remember we used to talk about Bully Ray in this way, where like he could find a way to be like, no, fuck you. Right. Like, as you're starting to like cheer for him, he's like, no. Right. This isn't that. Like, you fucking, like, suck my dick. Right. And that's the moment I got from this, where it's like, no, there's not, like, you think you're rooting for me? Like, you better not. Right. It's kind of one of these.
Yeah.
Like, no, like, I can't show everybody this promo. Right. When we go like, check out this amazing promo, I can't show everybody this one. There's a select few folks. Right.
And I guess to make my point more clear, I got all of that. I'm just saying it doesn't make any fucking sense. Like, he didn't make sense.
No, and I get that, but I think that kind of adds to it. I think that adds to the character of, like, like, because if he was a real person and he was saying that shit, you'd be like, all right, but that doesn't fucking mean anything. You know what I mean? You'd be having this response right here, be like,
so what?
Fuck, so what? That just means you're like, that just. And, like, is the statute of limitations over on that? Like, I feel like calling the cops now.
Like, you know how many times I've drunk drove? That doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? And I guess maybe because I'm a scumbag.
But he also this week tweeted a picture of himself with that car that he was talking about, which is just another sleazy move.
And he does that stuff great. Because, again, we know his origin story, right? So the origin story goes back to when CM Punk walked out in WWE and he was getting picked on and stuff. So we have the origin story. And so now we're getting more.
Well, we've heard the high school
and Jeffrey
angle before. Right?
Yeah, and Jeffrey Stills, I agree with him. It is good character building. Again, my biggest beef with that is that doesn't mean you're going to do anything different than what you would have done in the hour. Anyway, so I'm just splitting hairs again. It wasn't for me. I thought it was fun, but then
Jeffrey Sills, however, is so awesome that he would never have crashed in that situation. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just never would have been a problem because he's that smooth.
When he drives, I heard people yield to him even if they have the right of way.
That's true. I think there's like a sign that says, like, yield for oncoming traffic and Jeffrey Sills.
They just know. It's just like a law, like the law of gravity. You just get out of Jeffrey Stills' way.
It says in your driving handbook, the single yellow line means no passing except for Jeffrey Stills. He can pass.
That's how he does it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about something else we want to pass on. This Garcia Guevara gauntlet bullshit.
Yeah. Look, man.
And again,
yeah.
And I guess here's my point. What kind of piggybacking off the point I was trying to make with the MJF is that didn't make sense. And neither does this. Because as we've talked about, Ricky Starks beat Chris Jericho. He did it.
Yeah. It should be the other way around. Jericho needs to be going through a gauntlet.
Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And this is the match that did not feature a champion, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And
Correct.
and I just like, for me, the most interesting thing of that thing was going to be 2.0, and they got disposed of in short, which I get it, right? We're trying to make Ricky Starks this thing, but man, I just look, doing the thing just to do the thing will become primetime players soon enough, right? Where like, okay, great, right? Like I need something else now.
The way I feel about this program is it's stunning the growth of Ricky Starks. I think everything Ricky Starks is doing in this is elevating him.
But it's just not giving him much chance to move past it.
Well, and I think it's because when you get sucked into a Chris Jericho feud, unless it's the main event feud for the title like it was with Jon Moxley, or some elaborate detail-oriented feud with one of the best of all time, MJF, this is what you get now. And it's just, I don't know, man. Like, I keep saying it, and I'm a broken record, kind of like right before the main event, it's time for the women. But like, make me miss you, Chris Jericho. Like, this didn't need to be on the fucking show. And you mentioned it. Where's Miro? Even more so, where's House of Black and Eddie Kingston and Ortiz? I'd rather see that fucking story than this bullshit.
Ricky Starks overcoming the House of Black would be an amazing story. Ricky Starks overcoming Miro would be an amazing story to help Ricky Starks elevate his legend of Mr. Suave, right? Or whatever we're going to call him, right? Rico Suave for the 2020s, right? Like,
and
come on.
And you can easily make this a better story by changing the narrative, where you could say Ricky Starks beats Chris Jericho. Then Chris Jericho uses his stature in the company to make Ricky Starks' life hell. So then he has some type of leverage on Tony Khan, or you could just say whoever the matchmaker is, right? They say it's Tony Khan, so let's just go with that. And Chris Jericho is using his leverage and saying, Ricky Starks, since you beat me, I'm going to make your life a living hell until you fight me again. And then Ricky Starks is like, what are you talking about? And then you're facing Brody King. Then you're facing Miro. Then you're facing Aleister Black or Malachi Black. Then you're facing Buddy Murphy. Like, after all of that, then Ricky Starks is like, fine, you get your rematch. Like, I don't want to go through this anymore. And then it makes sense. But this whole thing where like Ricky Starks needs to fight through the Jericho Appreciation Society. No, he fucking doesn't. No. And they all look like chumps at the end of this. Now, Daniel Garcia gets the victory because Chris Jericho pulls the Sting where he attacks him in the audience and then jumps the guardrail, and it's Chris Jericho, and that's fine. The finish was
reliving his Masked Singer glory days there.
Yeah, and it was eye catching, right? It caught you off guard. You're like, oh wait a minute, what's this? I rewound, and oh, it's Chris Jericho, right? But the story is fucking dumb.
I don't like any of it. I just don't like any of it. And Jeffrey Sill says they should have just had a match with Garcia and Starks. I mean, that was the only redeeming thing out of all of this. So yeah, just make a match with Starks and Garcia. That at least makes sense, right? He beats Jericho. He can be like, yeah. He can catch him on the side and be like, listen, you beat Jericho. And I'm a member of the Jericho Appreciation Society. We know what it is, but like, dude's a 40-year-old man or 50-year-old man. I don't know what the fuck he is. He's like
52.
Like, hey, bro, like, you can do that to Jericho. But you wouldn't do that to me, right? He's all up in his fucking face. And then even have Guevara standing there fucking being Flavor Flav fucking with him, to where Ricky Starks is like, all right, man, if you want to get fucking danced on, let's do it. And he just, does it. But that's not what we got here. We got this weird, over-convoluted thing. For as great as Jericho can be, and I truly feel, I don't know, we'll say can be over his whole career of coming up with things, right? Some things hit, but some things don't hit. And when the things don't hit, it's because, man, he's like, oh, and do this and this and this. And I just truly feel like he's kind of in charge. Like, I feel like he's got creative control of his segments, if I had to guess, because it all feels very Jericho-esque. And it just, this one, again, felt like one of those where it's like, you're forcing it, man. You're trying to, like, you're doing a Hogan Must Pose thing, right? Like, you're doing a, let's do this and a this and a this and a this, and everybody's going to love it. And I don't know. I can live without it. I wish we would have got Garcia and Ricky Starks, but I'm ready for Ricky Starks to do something new. Like you said, let's get him against Miro. Let's get him against the House of Black. What is the House of Black doing right now?
Well, they're feuding with Eddie Kingston and Ortiz, but they don't get no fucking TV time because we have to see Chris Jericho
right, which would be great.
Fucking week.
I would prefer to see that story. But if you're not going to give me that, then because again, we don't need Jericho every week, right? We don't see anybody else pretty much every week, including their world heavyweight champions. When Moxley was a world champion, he wasn't there every week. When MJF was a champion, he wasn't there every week. But yet we get Jericho every damn week. Do we have some sort of data that actually shows that he moves the needle? Like that if he's not there, we get lesser ratings? It doesn't feel right. And so, yes, Eddie Kingston, Ortiz, I'm pissed that I'm not seeing this because now I got to take the time to go find it on YouTube. Is that what you're telling me? God damn it. The only thing you should waste your time finding on YouTube is our goddamn show. Not that. Right?
Let's get back into
/Spanish announce tube.
Let's get back into the recap here. So then we go backstage after that match, and Renee is interviewing the Acclaimed. And Billy says, hey, I feel like I'm being pulled in two different directions. When you guys go out there tonight, I'm not going out there. And Anthony Bowens looks at him as if to say, this is it, isn't it? And Billy kind of looks at him and says, not non-verbally, yeah, it is. And so then Anthony Bowens goes, well, let's do it one more time. Or he goes, let's give them what they want. And then they all do the scissoring thing, right? Maybe foreshadowing Billy may not be team Acclaimed moving forward.
Yeah.
We'll put a pin in that and get back to it later. We go to a commercial break, and then we come back, and Renee is backstage, and she's interviewing Bryan Danielson. And she's like, hey, Bryan, you excited for your match? Thanks for helping out Takeshita, earlier in the night. And he's like, yeah, great, awesome. All right, time for my match. Goes to open the door. It's fucking locked. Goes to open the door. Fucking locked. Then we go to the ring. Roosh is already in the ring. MJF comes out again and says, hey, Aubrey, you fucking idiot. Count to 10. This match should start. Count to 10. Aubrey, good character work from her, goes, oh, okay. 1, 2. I mean, she's counting slower than old people walk. And Bryan Danielson, we go back, and he's fighting through. And apparently it was Brian Cage and someone holding the door down. So then he just busts through.
Oh, yeah, no, it was Prince Nana, I think, and somebody else, or I don't even fucking know who
it was. Somebody. Yeah. And Bryan Danielson breaks through, and Takeshita helps him too. I got you too, buddy. And so they break down the door, and then Bryan Danielson runs in before the 10 count because, again, Aubrey is doing the 4, and MJF is like, you bitch. He fucking can't stand her, which is great because no one likes MJF, so it makes sense. And then Bryan Danielson gets in the ring. MJF goes on to commentary, and then we get one of the best matches in AEW. I mean, I feel like we're saying this each time Bryan Danielson is wrestling because we said it with Takeshita, we said it with Timothy Thatcher, we said it with Brian Cage, and now this one is probably the best of all of them. Him and Roosh fucking murder each other.
Yeah, they do.
11 times.
They literally fought for fun here, right? They literally were just beating the shit out of each other.
And the art, right? Like what's the phrase that all the young put it in the Louvre, is when Bryan Danielson, they're like, oh, it's this photo and they put it in the Louvre. And,
you hang out in hipper areas than I do.
No, it's on the social medias. It's, I see it on the things.
Yeah, you must hang. Yeah, you got cooler friends than I do.
No, I just live tweet during the show, and so that's what they do here.
I got you.
But the moment
these kids these days,
these fucking whippersnappers saying all the shit I have to fucking look up. God damn, it's not in a dictionary.
Thankfully, the Urban Dictionary exists.
Yeah, because it ain't in the dictionary. But what the moment is Bryan Danielson gets flipped from the apron to the ground, and because his head is cut with blood and his hair is long, his hair flips the blood onto the camera.
Yeah,
and then they go to commercial. That was fucking cool. And credit to the camera guy. He never wipes it off. He just like, nope, blood staying on there this entire match, which added to it. Because when they would go back to the shot, you're like, oh, yeah, these guys have murdered each other. Look at all the blood. And this was great. I mean, fuck yeah. Fuck yeah.
Yeah. we got a tweet table from that also, and it's from @BrianJ You'll detect the theme tonight's tweet the tables. He says, Danielson looking like Carrie at the prom? # tweet the table. And yes. And I will say for this match, it felt appropriate because, as you said, this was a fight. This was a death brawl. And it worked there. I am of the belief that we venture a little too easily into the blood territory in AEW. But that's personal tastes, right? Everybody's got their own line there. But here, it didn't feel out of place, so I will give him that, right? And like you said, the added touch of the camera and then just being like, well, fuck it, we're riding with the bloody camera was nice. And yeah, this style, this gauntlet, week over week gauntlet where, you got to beat this guy and you got to beat this guy and you got to beat this guy is oftentimes an easy fill-in for a lack of another story. But sometimes I think it fails at being enough. And the only reason it's not failing at being enough here is because Danielson is delivering in every one of these matches, right? And so is the opponents. I don't want to discredit them, but it's just, and Jeffrey Sills calls this a 5-star banger. And he might be right.
Danielson is delivering on the matches, but what I like about it from the MJF perspective is he's not staying stale and saying the same things he said week one. He, as you see Bryan Danielson continue to win, is unraveling. And then that's earlier in the night. That's when we got the story of the...
It's paying more money. Right.
Well, and he's just losing it more. It's like, you don't fucking think. And now he's just telling on himself that he fucking committed felonies. You know what I mean? And so it's showing his evolution of fucking losing it, while Bryan Danielson is showing that I'm the fucking best wrestler in the world.
Poor brother snitched himself, man.
Well, yeah, he's MJF.
Yeah.
Like you think. Yeah.
Yeah. But you never admit to anything.
Oh, he's the type of,
Nothing.
the way he acts. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. He's rich. He can admit to whatever.
He's fake rich. He's fake rich. He's new money. So the first thing he does is he pulls out his wallet and, look at all this cash. It's like no one fucking does that when they're rich, but he does it because he's new money and he's fucking
daddy made it big on a hedge fund. And so now they've got the Ferraris and the Gucci shoes.
Yeah. And you're like, rich people don't do that. Go look at Steve Ballmer. He ain't wearing that shit. Bill Gates, he ain't wearing that shit. People that are douchebags that don't know how to handle money, they look like you, MJF.
Yes.
But that's just neither here nor there. After the match, so Bryan Danielson.
What Tom is saying is that he's a billionaire.
I ain't got good shit. Look at this. None of this fucking shit is cool. I'm wearing a gray fucking t-shirt.
Me too.
Yeah. I got a Ken Griffey Jr. That fucking, when you go to today's baseball, you look at Ken Griffey Jr. from 1998. Anyhow, Bryan Danielson gets the victory.
The rest of the show.
And MJF heads to the ring, and he hits Bryan with the Dynamite Diamond Ring. Pow! Hits him right in the kisser.
Yeah.
And then
he's gotten a lot of miles out of that Dynamite Diamond Ring. Otherwise, throwaway piece of prop that
he's turned it into. He's honestly turned it into Triple H's sledgehammer. Like when you see the Diamond Ring, you think it's like Triple H's sledgehammer. So yeah, I think it's great. But he puts on that arm bar. And he doesn't let go. Security comes in, he attacks them, and then he's doing it more, and more personnel is coming out, and he fuck you, and then we go to commercial. So Danielson's arm is compromised as we go into the pay-per-view March 5th. We go to a commercial break, we come back, and I don't want to talk about that. Tony Schiavone interviews the Impractical Jokers. I don't know what the fuck that is. I don't care.
Hey, what happened to the fourth Impractical Joker? Did this guy get Me Too'd?
I've never seen the show. I don't even know what the fuck. I don't even know what the fuck it is.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Let me guess, because I've seen commercials. It's white guys playing pranks on each other at Home Depot.
Yeah, right. Of course.
For the person who says TV fucking sucks, Impractical Jokers.
Here's what I will say: Impractical Jokers is. It is the type of show like Ridiculousness, where you can turn it on, you can kind of ignore it. You don't have to know anything about what's going on, and you'll get all right, that was fun. You know what I mean? You'll get those one or two things where you're like, yeah, that was cool. It's one of those, right, where they're doing a bunch of shit, and you're just kind of like, all right, I'm over here fucking wardling or whatever I'm doing over here. Hashtag tweeting the table like you all should be doing.
Hey.
And it's just kind of one of those shows. So but there used to be 4 of these dudes, and they've been best friends like forever, and that's why they started doing this. But now one of them is just mysteriously gone, and they're like Impractical Jokers, and it's just still 3 of them. And I'm like, I'm like, something happened with dude number 4. Don't know what it is.
The commercials that I've seen, and maybe I'm on my high horse here, and probably I am. The commercials that I've seen of this show just seems like the greatest white privilege show I've ever seen. Because let black people do that shit. The cops will be there in 9 minutes.
100%, of course.
But you know what I mean?
Because so these guys are fat, balding, unassuming white guys. Yeah, they get away with it, of course.
It's all
100%.
Fun.
Yeah, 100%. Well, and I don't buy that it's not a work either. That, like, you know, they've got all these funny things that happen and people aren't just like, motherfucker, get away from me, right? And like shoving them out of the way. I'm like, yeah, I don't kind of buy it either. But, so, you know.
Yeah. So anyhow, Impractical Jokers and Chris Jericho are.
Somebody hit me up, though. Let me know what happened to the 4th Impractical Joker. Like, what, you know, is it child porn or what's going on with this guy?
Well, is he old? Did he just die?
No, because they were all friends. Old. I think they're all the same friends.
No, I know. I'm saying they look old. Did he die?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe he Jeffrey Sill says Tim does dress like one of those sneaky tech bro billionaires. If I was a tech bro billionaire, we would not have the technical difficulties that this show has.
No.
He says Tom. Oh, yeah. Now see, well, you know, Tom might be stingy, and maybe that's why he's a tech bro billionaire.
I like my money.
Good. I'm glad to know that, like, I actually have a good, because I was like, I don't think I dress like one of those sneaky tech bro billionaires. I think I'm pretty I think people see me and they're like, yeah, that guy ain't got any fucking money. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, so I like that look. I like nobody assuming that I've got shit.
Well, because you don't.
Because I don't got shit, right? So nobody fucks with me.
All right, so then let's get into.
Nobody's like, hand over the wallet, because they know, like, great, I'm gonna get a fucking gas card to the Hy-Vee. And a fucking, you know, an old receipt.
Dude, I got held up in Atlanta. When I lived in Atlanta, I got robbed and I gave him $7. I was like, I have fucking nothing. Like, here you go. And he literally was like, yeah, all right, fuck. And he just took it and walked off.
I'm in a 4-month battle over $1,000 with the bank. You know what I mean?
Well, that's a different story.
Let it go.
Yeah,
I can't let it go.
Yeah. Well, $1,000 is a lot of money. But anyway.
I mean, it's
Yeah. So let's get back into
still on fucking going, by the way. Anyway.
Insane. I know the details of that, so that's why I said it. But hey, let's get back into the matches. So we get our championship match here. This is actually a championship match. It's for the World Trios Championships. It is the Elite taking on Top Flight and AR Fox. And this had all the makings of your fun, flips, and shit.
All of it.
The one criticism I have, to sound like Jim Cornette, friend of the show, we've had him on, check out our archives. I don't know if he liked me that much, but I don't like him. But to sound like Jim Cornette really quickly, there was a little bit of like, so who the fuck is the legal person? Because we were just jumping and doing this, jumping. I'm not saying any of it was bad.
Yeah.
But even when like Matt Jackson did a springboard something, he was like, pin him. And I was like, well, why don't you pin him? And it's like, I don't even know who the fucking legal person is here. So.
Hey, listen, Jim Cornette, there's a lot not to like about the guy. But I say a lot. He's not always wrong. One, I appreciate his non-wrestling thoughts on a lot of things. But two, with wrestling, he's not always wrong. Yes, he's a cranky old man. But sometimes you're right. Like, he hits on things like this. Like, hey, man, what the fuck are you doing? You just said, first of all, like, the ref's counting 5 over here because this is illegal, but then the next guy does it over here and he doesn't even fucking say shit. Like, you got to fucking shore this shit up. And that's another reason why we don't like this style of wrestling, right? Because there's just no way to ever, ever, ever forget that what I'm seeing here is a performance, right? Like, you can't ever buy in. And that's some of the magic of storytelling performances. Movies, you can forget for a moment that you're like, oh shit, that's right, I'm sitting in a theater here, you know, watching something on a big screen. Like, you can go to a musical and you can kind of forget that for a moment, right? You buy into the story. But I can't buy into that story with this stuff. Yes, I can appreciate the flips and shit, but that's all I'm appreciating of it. It's just like, wow, all right. Guy did a triple spinning over his ball sack plancha drive. Fucking awesome.
Can I tell you something, though? So the Elite get the victory. I, having no, favor towards any team, towards the end, I was like, I want Top Flight and AR Fox to get the victory. I want them to be champs. And this is the reason why. I think for as good as Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are for that trios division to add credibility and get more teams over like an AR Fox and Top Flight and stuff, I think they're more valuable with Kenny Omega as a singles competitor and the Young Bucks going back down to the tag division and saying, we're going after that. Because the Young Bucks, while they've kind of done everything they could, there's still some teams that they haven't messed around with that I think would be interesting. And with Kenny Omega, like that Kenny Omega and who am I trying to say? Chris Jericho hasn't had a feud. Like, think of that. They haven't had a feud, and they're like the two, like.
Well, and Jeffrey Sill says in the chat, by the way, join us live when we do this YouTube show Thursday nights. It says, but I'm ready for Kenny Omega singles matches. So where's the Kenny Omega Chris Jericho match?
Well, I just, like, here you go. Let's fucking old yeller Chris Jericho professionally and replace him with Kenny Omega and put Kenny Omega, and Ricky Starks has to go through the elite gauntlet to then get to Kenny Omega. Like, that's more interesting because
the Kenny Appreciation Society would be way cooler.
Yeah, because Don Callis would make it so much more fun, right? Like Don Callis as the talking piece and Kenny Omega with his bad suits is perfect.
You know, they say you don't know what you've got until you lose it. I miss Don Callis in my life.
Well, you get him, but you don't get him like you should. That's what I'm saying. Like I think you need to.
You know what we need? We need a Dan Lambert versus Don Callis promo off.
Look, Dan Lambert can stay over there with Jorge Masvidal and American Top Team.
Trump
I don't need to
and
see
all
them.
them.
Yeah, I don't need to see that motherfucker ever again. And I think AR Fox and Top Flight as a trios champions would then give them some, oh shit, we got to see them on TV, right? Like, I think the trios championship doesn't need the stability that I feel like they think it needs. I think we can give it to a newer team and then get Kenny Omega.
I agree, but they look the part, right, with the matching gear, and it just feels like a good fit, and I think they have similar styles. I agree with you. I think that would have been a great way to just kind of like let the Elite and the Young Bucks go off and do some things, because it's not getting over this time, right? We're not like all in on like, oh my God, the Elite, right? We're just, it's just not there.
My thing with this is Kenny Omega had, 32 surgeries while he was out for 9 months. He's not going to be here for 4 more years. So like, you better get in the Chris Jericho match. You better get in the CM Punk match. You better get in another Hangman match. You know what I mean?
Will Ospreay match that you were, they did do that, didn't they? The singles match.
Well, they did the tag. They didn't do it. Well, they did over there. Yeah. They did it in New Japan, but they didn't do it here. But you know what I mean?
Hole.
Yeah.
Let's get a glory hole match here going on.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, they need to get Kenny Omega's matches in before he has to retire, because I don't think anyone's clamoring or wanting the AR Fox and Top Flight rematch. You know what I'm saying? So that's all.
So this is not a football podcast, but I don't know if you caught that Chris Jones did not win the NFL Defensive Player of the Year. This is Nick Bosa, so that was wrong.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, that's what ESPN's saying right here on my little 49ers defensive end. Nick Bosa named AP NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Oh, is that AP? Is that not the no, that's the one, right? That's the one.
That's the Associated Press. Yeah.
That's the one that we're all waiting on tonight, right?
Yeah.
We know I was going to win the MVP, but I thought Chris Jones was going to win this. But anyway, maybe I'm a homer.
No, he was the best defensive tackle. Anyhow, yeah.
Well, and he's still playing. I know that much.
Well,
because of his play. So
I hope that fucking pissed him off, because he's gonna have to throw Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey around on Sunday. So
Landon Dickerson coming down your throat, right, or whatever. What's his name said? Collinsworth.
Malala, yeah, right. Malala as well. Yeah, he's got a tall task, so hopefully that's motivation to fucking beat their ass, because we need it.
Go Chiefs!
Yeah.
Fucking
Eagles.
God damn it.
Eagles are just rats with a better PR.
Hey, listen.
Fuck them.
And what's Philadelphia? Like, what is Philadelphia? You know, like, what do you know?
I'll tell you what it is. It's such a shitty city that it was originally our country's capital, and then we moved it away because we're like, fuck this place, and we went to D.C. Fuck Philadelphia.
We shit on St. Louis for losing 2 NFL teams, but Philadelphia lost a nation's capital. They can't go live in that city. What are you doing there?
Yeah. Fuck you. The only thing they've done so far is just lose every championship they've got, right? The Phillies lost the World Series. Their soccer team lost the MLS. And now their football team's going to lose the Super Bowl.
And the only reason you ever won the Super Bowl recently is because Nick Foles was playing on your team and he learned all that shit on the Chiefs.
Yeah. You guys fucking miserable. Yeah, and your city just sucks.
You ever hear anybody go say they're going to go live out their dream in Philadelphia?
Nope. Ain't no one. Philadelphia is the ugly stepchild of the Northeast.
Yeah, and you ain't got no Kansas City cunt punt, right? So we know there's no like Philadelphia.
And it's an eagle. Punch. It's a fucking eagle. It was on the endangered species list.
Yeah.
That's what your fucking football team is?
Yeah. We're going to put it on the extinct list. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. We have to fucking coddle this cocksucker because you can't do it yourself, you piece of shit town.
Mm.
They're probably going to win.
Lost the nation's capital.
Yeah. Fucking losers.
What a bunch of dorks.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into the main event. Some controversy here, Tim.
Wait. It was a main event. So we were supposed to have women before the main event.
But we did get something before the main event, and I missed it.
Yeah.
Stokely Hathaway.
Before you do that, because I forgot, we were talking about the Young Bucks. Brian J. Bay used a hashtag tweet the table to point out that the Young Bucks were wearing pants made from the Chinese spy balloon. Hashtag tweet the table. Nice. See, this is what you do with Tweet the Table. If you got thoughts like that, share them with us. We'll read them right here on the show. But anyway, yes, we got Stokely Hathaway. God damn, I love Stokely Hathaway.
So here's my question to you. So Stokely Hathaway's being interviewed, and he said everything's going wrong because of Hook. And my question to you is, the firm came in as MJF's right-hand group, right? The muscle that he needs to get the goals accomplished. That quickly was disassociated between the two of them. And now Hook is going to be the one that crumbles the firm. Like, is this the first failed faction in AEW? That's my question to you. Do you think it's the first real failed faction in AEW?
Well, no. Remember Eddie Kingston had a bunch of folks hanging around for a while that was very short-lived.
Well, but the reason that stopped is because Eddie Kingston turned babyface and saved Jon Moxley. So, like, at least that had a reason.
Yeah, I mean, yes. Look, I think this was designed to be something for MJF and a storyline against CM Punk that never materialized, so they tried to keep it going, and it just isn't going to be a thing. So, yes, I think, but I also think, like, under different circumstances, it might have been a thing. But, I don't know. I mean, look. As big as W. Morrissey is, and as all the great memories we have of Big Cass, you know, it's not quite there yet, right? Looks great getting off the bus, right? And then here's Ethan Page. We can't seem to hit that next thing with Ethan Page yet. I don't know what we're missing there yet.
I think what you do, get rid of the firm. Fuck the firm. It's all gone. But I think you keep Ethan Page, Stokely Hathaway.
Yeah.
Those two guys seem to work. Well, they seem to work perfect, right?
Yes.
Where Stokely Hathaway can get all the things that Ethan Page needs, and then Ethan Page can wear all the fancy suits and be the top heel or a top heel. But the rest of them.
But I think their personalities click. I think they feel like a couple of sleazeballs. One's a manager, one's the guy, right? I think it works very well, and I think the rest of the firm could just disappear.
Speaking of,
are the Ass Boys in the firm?
That's what I was about to say. Stokely Hathaway didn't come out with the Ass Boys, and they were in the firm. Stokely Hathaway should have tag team champions. Spoiler
They're the firm Ass Boys.
Yeah, not anymore apparently.
The soft Ass Boys.
So Stokely Hathaway says everything's wrong because of Hook. Hook appears, grabs him, and then warns him. He says, "You something I couldn't understand."
Yeah,
what
I think he said, like, "Watch your words, sir." That was that missed.
I don't know. Well, who DDP's daughter doesn't know how to use a fucking microphone. She just holds it to herself.
She also doesn't know how to act. Right?
Well,
yeah. Now, the thing I think that we missed with Hook is the chips. We should have kept the chips thing going. He could have just, like, had him and fucking, like, drag it. And Stokely's like, oh, my God, what's he about to say? And then he just eats a chip and fucking throws him off and walks off. Like, that would be way cooler than whatever the fuck he said there.
You know, if he's too nervous to talk, I think he used the chips as his promo. He says, watch your back. And he puts it on a bag of chips and you know it's fucking Hook. That's what you could do.
That's what I'm saying. Like, start using the chips as a thing, right? Like, he fucking, you know what I mean? Like, that's the thing is like, anytime he's about to clap back on somebody, it's just, you know what I mean? Just eating the chips because he loves the chips.
Or if he needs a message, but if he needs a message sent, he leaves a bag of chips in your locker room and you go, oh, fuck, what's about to happen?
Just even a chip. He needs to eat the rest of these chips. Fuck you. But it'll leave like a chip.
But that's where they need some corporate synergy and find a chip sponsor, Guys Snacks.
Guys, potato chips.
Yeah, and then that
the original barbecue potato chip. You guys know how much you love barbecue potato chips? That's thanks to Guys Barbecue Potato Chips, which, by the way, is housed right here in Kansas, MF and City, who will win the Super Bowl this Sunday. And you should be enjoying a bunch of Guys potato chips while you do it. Anyway, sorry. Hook should be eating them.
Yep. So we go to a commercial break, then we come back, and then here it is, the main event, as we were talking about. AEW World Tag Team Championship match, very controversial. We get the Acclaimed, who are at the time your tag team champions, taking on challengers, the Guns, a.k.a. the Ass Boys. And long story short, the Guns are your tag team champions. Now, the way it happened was interesting. So that referee took the greatest referee bump I've ever seen in my life.
I watched it back 4 times. I was like, holy shit, what did that guy just do?
Yeah. I thought he really killed himself on accident. Yeah, because it was like, you're acting too much. Oh shit, you're gonna hurt yourself.
For as much as we've shit on AEW at missing the spot, this one was spot on. They had the great angle for it to where there was just enough blockage so you didn't see if he missed, but the sell job he did after it was top notch. Whatever, give that guy a raise.
Yeah, he was great. And then Billy Gunn comes down. Billy Gunn stops Austin, I think it was, from using the title belt and says, you ain't going to do this. And then Colton hits Billy Gunn.
Gun number 2.
Tall gun. The tall gun. The shotgun. We'll call him the shotgun because he's taller.
The shotgun versus the pistol.
Yeah, the pistol and the shotgun. There you go.
Yeah.
And the shotgun hits him in the head, and Billy's out. He's all done for. And then I forget how it happens, but long story short, the pistol gets the roll-up victory on Anthony Bowens, and the Guns are your new tag team champions.
He's not just a shotgun. He's like an old-timey 1864 shotgun also.
Yeah.
Where it's just like,
he's
it's a long tube musket with a tiny little, it's a musket. He's the musket.
He's the musket. The musket
pistol and the musket. Listen, they obviously knew, everybody expected what I was claiming was Billy Gunn was going to turn, realign with his kids because he loves his kids, get one over on the Acclaimed, and win the titles that way. Because they set that up, like you said, in the earlier promo, Anthony Bowens didn't quite buy it, and then he's holding up one of the Acclaimed like he's getting ready to hit him with a thing, but he throws him at the last second and stops him. Like, they played all into it, and kudos to them for recognizing the odds, right, and pulling a little Carl Cheffers and hedging the hedging the game a little. And Jeffrey Sills did call it. I think I was agreeing that the Guns were going to come out of this. I just thought we were going to get the turn, and I think that was the bit of the surprise. And it'll be interesting to see where we go from this, but I think the Acclaim still end up this feud as the tag team champions. You do not?
All right, here it is. T-Max storyline of
T-Max got the pencil.
There it is. T-Max
pencil. We need a segment. T-Max got the pencil.
Yeah, here it is. This is what happens. So you're going to get the Guns coming out. They think they're the best thing in the world. The Acclaimed now are mad. Hey, we gave you a shot. We want our rematch. No, you're going to have to prove it. So then they beat Tony Neeson, that other Josh Woods guy, right? Mark Sterling's group. They beat them.
That is exactly who they will beat.
Yeah. Then they say, all right, give us our title match. And the Guns are like, fine. But we're going to do it under our rules. We're going to do it no DQ. And the fucking Acclaim's like, perfect. We want to use all the weapons on your forehead as possible. Like all of them.
We're bringing scissors.
Yeah, we'll bring this. We're gonna scissor your fucking head open. You know,
we're gonna scissor your face. Hello.
So it's a no DQ match. Let's just say it's at Revolution.
Yeah, and probably is.
And that's where Billy Gunn says, "My sons, they have what it takes to be champs. They proved to me."
So you think we still get the turn?
We get the turn, but it's going to be at Revolution.
God
and
damn.
Then you know what that leads to, Tim? You know what that leads to? The Guns win at Revolution. Oh, we're the fucking king shit.
We're the best tag team in the world.
And then
Jeffrey Sills says they hold the belts all year until FTR comes from the dead.
Oh, I don't know. It'll probably be summer. What's their summer pay-per-view? Like, it'll be that. Their spring break or whatever. Yeah. And FTR comes back and says, we're the fucking champs. And then by the time it's all out, which we'll go to again because it'll be in Chicago, we're going to get the third match in the trilogy for the championships. FTR, your champions, taking on the Young Bucks.
Dude, we're going to have another set of chairs. I forgot they do this in Chicago every year. We can do this every year.
I know. Stack those chairs up. Boop, 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 boop.
I got to sit right here not knowing what the fuck to do with that. I want to have another one that I don't know what the fuck to do with.
Exactly.
And I want to figure out how to get that one home too. I want to embarrass myself in the airport again.
Yeah. That's what's going to happen. There it is. You're going to get the turn, and then the Acclaimed are going to reinvent themselves. I bet you then that's when we start to build up the tag division, because then the Acclaim can say, hey, let's feud with the Best
Butcher
Friends.
and the Blade.
I think
Best
they're going to go
Friends.
heel.
All right.
I think they're going to go heel after this. I think they're going to say, like, fuck all this shit about being nice. That ain't getting us nowhere.
Nasty raps.
Yeah, and then it's fuck this town. You guys are miserable. We're miserable. All that shit.
Like when they're in Cincinnati, they'll shit on them for how the Chiefs beat them in the AFC Championship game.
Exactly. Yes. Smoking on that Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow. You know how many times I say that in my head?
Yeah.
That's the funniest phrase. For anyone listening who doesn't know what I'm saying, go look up Patrick Mahomes Sr. post-game interview. After the Chiefs beat the Cincinnati Bengals, he is cognac drunk, and he gets interviewed, and he's like, I'm smoking on that Joe Burrow. And he's like,
he says it just like that. Yeah, he's like, that Joe Burrow.
That Joe Burrow. Yeah, I've been around plenty of guys who've sounded
You know,
like
when
that.
they say people are 3 sheets to the win, he was 7 sheets to the win. He was hammered, glass-eyed, like he was the beneficiary of the beer sponsor of the week, Jeffrey Sills. He was so drunk.
Oh, God, yeah. Cognac all the way. You could tell. Cognac will give you that delayed speech. Like, you know, I know when you're drunk, sometimes you're like, hey, let's go get Taco Bell. But cognac will make you stop mid-word where you go, smoking on that Joe Burrow.
Let me, because I know Jeffrey Sills might be a newish listener to the Spanish Announce Table, and there might be other newish listeners to the Spanish Announce Table. I would invite you to go back into wherever you get your podcasts and scroll all the way to near the bottom of the list and find yourself episode 21 of the Spanish Announce Table. 400 episodes ago. At the end of episode 21, we celebrate turning 21 by watching Heroes of Wrestling, a terrible pro wrestling pay-per-view, while being absolutely hammered.
Not together.
You will hear, not together. We did this separately and kind of mixed them together. But first of all, you'll appreciate Tom way more than you ever have.
That was fun.
I'm telling you, if you do anything this week where you want to laugh till it hurts, go check out episode 21 of the Spanish Announce Table. That's advice Tim is giving you here on episode 421. Tom, when we did episode 21, did you think we would be sitting here on episode 421 and doing this show?
I didn't think we were going to do 22. So I didn't think we were doing 421. Yeah. After 21, I didn't think we were doing 22. So that we got this far is crazy enough. But, oh, my God. So that's AEW Dynamite. Your new tag team champions are the Guns, aka the Ass Boys. Like I said, Rush and Danielson tore it up.
I don't hate this idea. If we can talk about the tag team championships again, I don't hate it. Like, the Acclaimed is hot. they're doing their thing, but I don't think it relies on the tag team championships, right? It relies on the raps, the swagger, the daddy ass thing. But again, I think we've peaked with that, right? So as you said, it's time to kind of reinvent, but I believe they have the ability to do that. And I think they've shown it in their interviews. They work their ass off to find that thing, to try things, to do new things. So I have full faith that they will do that next thing. And I think they're one of the hottest acts going in pro wrestling, period. But I think it's time to like start thinking of that, like, all right, what's the next thing to keep us there?
The only thing that I would have changed with the Guns, because I agree with you, the Acclaim are the A side of this feud, and they're fine, and they're going to be fine moving forward. The thing with the Guns, very similar to at the start of this show, Takeshita and not getting victories, is
fucking nailed it
Guns.
again.
But the Guns only beat FTR, right? So they only beat FTR, and then here they are now they
didn't beat Butcher and the Blade. They didn't beat
the Best Friends.
Santana and Ortiz. God, we keep missing Santana and Ortiz.
But it could have been Ortiz and Eddie Kingston, right? They could have beat Ortiz and Eddie Kingston.
Or who's those Magnum Bros that we saw?
Oh yeah, they're fun. They're scissoring now all of a sudden. They needed more victories, and it could have been shenanigans, right? It could have all been roll-ups or dick punches and all that stuff, but they beat FTR, which was kind of also weird, and now they're champs. And that's the only disconnect is I didn't need them to like.
I will say this:
go on a
somebody
hot streak,
beating
some more victories.
FTR at the moment where FTR was statused kind of gives you a thing to say, like, "Hey, listen, we can beat them, so we can beat anybody, right? Give us a title shot." I could, you could convince me to be like, "All right, here's your shot." And then they go, "Oh shit, we took advantage of it," right? That's one of the beauties of wrestling is like sometimes you can get that shot without having gone through the boxing ratings, as it were.
Yeah. Yes. And I think beating FTR is a good feather in their cap from a storyline perspective. The thing that I think shot themselves in the foot with beating FTR is they lost to the Briscoes. Then they lost to the Guns. Then they lost in New Japan. Then they lost.
If they would have been the first to beat the Briscoes or the FTR, and that's when FTR like had their little crisis of faith and lost a few more because the fucking Guns beat us. So are we that good, right? Like that kind of thing. Yes, 100%.
That would have worked better for them. But I even given how it did go down, I still think they needed to beat a couple more teams by however they want to then say we're beating.
Why aren't they beating Luther and fucking Serpentico?
Yeah, or Fuego del Sol and Sammy Guevara, or
the guys from the fucking Wingmen. God, we need more Wingmen.
Or Ricky Starks and Action Andretti.
Yeah,
right. Beat those two. Like, it could have been that too. But it felt a little bit too quick, even though it felt right. You know what I mean? It felt right for the Acclaimed, but it didn't feel right for the Guns.
The tag thing with Daddy Ass, but I do agree that, like, hey, it's time to see if the Acclaimed are the guys that can keep this kind of fervor about them without the Daddy Ass. So I agree. I think that's the best move of we still do get the turn. It's just after we thought we were going to get it, so maybe we forgot about it.
Yep, that's how it happens. That's how it happens, Tim.
I like it. So that's it, right? I mean, oh, no. Listen. There was one big thing that happened over on the other side of the fence with WWE, and that was the Cody Rhodes, Paul Heyman promo that everybody is slobbering over. Now, I want to say this. I thought it was good. I mean, like, for the story is what it is, but I keep wanting to make sure people understand that it was mostly Paul Heyman, right? Like, this was Paul Heyman's promo. I will give Cody this. I like the line at the end where he was like, "You just fucking said your shit and you're not going to suffer the consequences. It's your fucking boy." You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to kick his fucking ass and take his title, and that's what you did to him. So you fucking tell him you did that to him. Like, paraphrasing here, but I like that. But anything before, and I think this is where you're going to go with this too, is just, man, I am tired of the fucking Cody Rhodes, Dusty Rhodes is my daddy story. Like, bro, again, it sounds like Cody really needs therapy. And like, I feel bad for the guy. Look, we would like to normalize mental health. and get all the help that you need and get all the counseling you need and do whatever it takes, right? Like, and we're all here with you. But it doesn't scream, I want you to beat Roman Reigns, right? Like, I don't, like, man, I want you to go get help. I don't want you to beat Roman Reigns. I think you shouldn't be wrestling right now. I think you should be going on a 4-day darkness retreat and seeing if you still want to play football. Oh, wrong guy. Sorry. That would be dumb. You know what I mean? But like, just like, it seems just like it feels the SNL skit where the guy was like, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. Like, I'm tired of hearing his personal fucking pep talk.
Yeah. So for me, the line that I liked was something different from Cody, where he said, I'm just trying to win a championship and everyone wants to make this personal.
That was good. Yeah.
So I'm personally going to take this away from Roman Reigns. That's cool because everyone has been. Seth Rollins has been poking the bear about it. Paul Heyman now is poking the bear. So I like the aspect of him almost saying, like, I'm done. It was
believable. He acted annoyed too. He's like, God damn it, man. I'm just trying to win a fucking title here, which is what this is, a wrestling title. I like that. Yeah. I mean, it's not if we followed, you know what I mean, your speeches, but okay. All right.
Yeah.
Great line.
That part I liked. Now, going to the fucking, So what I will say about the Dusty Rhodes bringing it up is, you know, a 24-ounce steak from your favorite steakhouse is fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Right? But if you had it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner since 2016, you'd be fucking tired of it. You'd say, hey, let's get a taco salad. Hey, let's go get some pad thai. Hey, let's go get some sushi. Just something else. I just don't want this fucking steak right now. And that's Cody. The fucking thing is fine, but when you just shove it in your face all the fucking time that it's his dad and he wants to live up to his dad because his dad was, fuck you. Fuck you. Like, this is where, like you're saying, we should normalize mental illness and all of that. On the flip side of that, though, is if every day you wake up and you cry and I say, here's the therapist number, or here's the thing that could help you, and you go, no, and then you wake up the next morning and you cry, eventually you're the boy who cried wolf, and I'm going to say, I don't fucking care about your tears.
So my long-winded way of getting into this is that from a storytelling perspective, if you tell me, hey, here's a guy whose dad was considered one of the all-time greats, is on people's Rushmore, but he, at this company, which is now the Amazon of pro wrestling, like, now he's got a shot at doing the thing his dad never could, that it feels like his dad was purposely kept from as a point, right, on purpose. Like, that seems like a great story. That's fine. But what you've been telling me over the last year has been a different story, has been Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, you know what I mean, bloodline, all of this. It hasn't been, oh, and also this guy who's barely been affiliated ever anywhere at all has the boyhood dream, right? Like, it just, it doesn't fit for me, right? Like, so even if it's fine and it could be a great storyline, you're now trying to sandwich it up against what has been your greatest storyline in years. And you're just going to, like, cut that one off early so that you can tell this one also?
Well, no.
It just feels weird.
You know what it feels like to me as far as storyline perspective only. What it feels like is WrestleMania 20. If you recall, the main event of WrestleMania 20 was this blood feud of two best friends that then one of them turned on them, and it's Triple H and it's Shawn Michaels, and oh my God, these guys are going to fucking kill each other, and they kill each other 10 million times. And then all of a sudden, it's the boyhood dream, Chris Benoit, he wins the Royal Rumble, I want the championship, but then Shawn Michaels is like, Triple H ain't fucking done with you, so then when we throw them all in there together in a triple threat. Don't be shocked if that happens, because that's what Triple H went through, and now he's the one booking it. So don't be surprised about that.
But that's what I mean. It feels like that. It's like, this could have been a fine story, but like, you're trying to force it right now.
Because he won the Royal Rumble, like that, I understand. Like, I will forgive.
But I mean, but you could have put somebody else in the Rumble. You know what I mean? Like, again, I think I'm starting to feel like the Rumble winner gets the automatic, you know, WrestleMania main event is now doing a disservice to the Royal Rumble, whereas before, like, it used to be the great stakes that you would win, but now I feel like it's forcing them into weird stories that they're not ready to tell. They're not planning ahead enough to, like, make that Rumble winner the crescendo of a thing, right? Like,
they typically do, but this has been the first story that
Not
they've
really.
actually told.
I feel like we don't know anything about the Rumble winner who's going to challenge for the like we're usually often anymore like, oh my God, it was Drew McIntyre. Now it's going to be Drew McIntyre versus. It wasn't like Drew McIntyre's trying to get the world title for 7 months or has a personal beef with the champion for 7 months. Like the Rumble winner should have been Sami Zayn 5,000 times over if you're telling the story that you've been telling us. Forever, right? So it's just weird.
You got to get the match. You got to get the match in Montreal. Like that's the payoff. That's going to be louder than WrestleMania. That's going to be more memorable than WrestleMania.
So, but that's what I mean. Like your storyline payoff is coming in Elimination Chamber,
which is great.
Then your WrestleMania is just this like other story that like just popped out of nowhere in the last 2 months that we're all supposed to get behind, but yet it's been the same thing he's been fucking. I'm gonna say it, crying about for fucking 7 years.
All right, so here you go. So here's my thoughts. One, I actually like that because fuck the Elimination Chamber, right? Like generally speaking, who the fuck cares about that, right? So now you do. 2, WrestleMania, you're going to watch anyhow, so you might as well get a match in there. And then 3, it would be a good story, Cody, if this wasn't the fucking story he's been saying since 2016, when I started AEW in 2019, just like my pappy went up against WWE and NWA and WC. Like, shut the fuck up, man. This is, again, where I'm saying, you're saying the same thing every day, and we keep saying, here's the way to fix it, and you just say no, and then I'm fucking done hearing it. Like, I just don't want to hear it. I don't want to fucking hear it. If you say Dusty Rhodes one more time, they're coming to Kansas City in March, I think it is. I swear to God, if Cody says Dusty Rhodes, fucking throwing an egg or tomato.
And here's another thing about it, right? Is that WWE
get out of here.
We've talked about this a bunch with AEW sometimes where they just recently started getting better about this, where if you throw in a random guy that I've never seen before, you got to give me the backstory or else I don't know who the fuck that is, right? Like I don't watch New Japan. WWE references Dusty Rhodes in a correct pro wrestling industry limelight of Dusty Rhodes was an all-time great. But if we were only to ever watch WWE programming, Dusty Rhodes was a just above mid-card level fly-by-night couple of years window.
No, not to this group because they made a fucking statue of him.
Of course, but you get what I'm saying? Like from a viewer's perspective, if I've been watching for 25 years here, we saw 7 years of Dusty Rhodes on TV. Yeah. You know what I mean?
No, they've presented Dusty Rhodes as they should. Because
I think they get the benefit of adding some of the WCW library in there. I think they get
the NXT guys. The NXT, everyone talks up. That's what.
Yes, but that's again of the like. Yes, if you followed along that, but again, if you're not watching NXT, if you're not watching the backstage mantra of like Dusty Rhodes trained me, right? Like this kind of thing. If you were just casual viewer who watches WWE Raw and Smackdown every week, Dusty Rhodes was a small blip in time in the WWE universe from an in-ring wrestling persona.
Well, in-ring, yes, but his impact is what makes him important, right?
Agreed.
Seth Rollins and all of them say it on camera. That's the part where it's
there is that too. So yes, I will get that, but it's still like it just Cody Rhodes to me. What I take away from this is I feel sad for Cody Rhodes from an emotional standpoint every time I watch him, and not I really hope he gets this victory, because if I'm Cody Rhodes' loved one, or if I'm his therapist, I would be telling him getting this victory is not going to solve whatever's been bothering you about your father's death.
So Tim, this is what
is
you
that
do.
The story?
No, he gets the championship. He beats Roman Reigns, because we got to end this shit sooner rather than later, right?
Yeah.
Even have Sami Zayn fucking cost him the match, right? Because then Roman can then go to SmackDown, and it's Sami and Roman over in SmackDown. And on Raw, Cody has the championship. Check me out, right? But then it's Cody going, hey, fuck all of you. I thought this was going to give me all the things I was looking for, and it isn't. And you know who I blame? All of you fucking idiots.
You fuckers on that Spanish Announce Table podcast, you're talking shit on me about my fucking...
Well, no. What I would say is, his angle could be, you told me once I got this championship, I would be whole. I would complete the story and I would be the man I should be. And I got this championship and all I got is people trying to shoot me in the back and stab me in the back. I don't fucking trust any of you. And now we get paranoid Cody, where he's like, no fucking wonder my dad left this company. Fuck you and fuck you and fuck you. Like, that is fun. Because then he goes, I totally get why my dad hated this place. I didn't fucking like that guy. Vince could never be trusted. Triple H is just like him. Fuck him. Remember when I took the sledgehammer to that thing? I'm going to do it again here. Like, that Cody could be cool. Now, they won't fucking do it because WWE sucks ass, but that would be fun. Give me the pencil. I'll do it.
You know what doesn't suck ass is the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs are in the Super Bowl, so we encourage all of you to watch Sunday and root for the Chiefs to help us. That would be a great way to support this podcast and to send us all that positive energy. We'd like to thank Jeffrey Sills, who is Awesome Bill from Dawsonville, who is at FuckYoMama2X on Instagram. That's FUKYOMOMMA 2X on Instagram. Please follow that. Please follow us on all the social medias. We're on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, fucking Facebook still, because we're old. We're on all that shit. We got a pro wrestling tee store. You can check us out, Spanish Announce Table. There's only one design because we need y'all to buy some more of it so you can buy cooler designs once they see we actually make some sales. So do all of that stuff. Check us out on SpanishAnnounceTable.net. Subscribe, like, comment, tell your friends. And I think we'll be back next week for episode 422 of the Spanish Announce Table. God, I don't know what else to say anymore, Tom. I think I'm just stalling. You got any words of wisdom before we get the fuck out of here?
I hope Chiefs win.
Chiefs!
Chiefs
Go
win.
Chiefs!
The Spanish Announce Table.